Hickok 45 here with an unusual video. Yes, the last trail knife I would ever sell. Many of you really are into firearms and knives, and you know I'm into both. And I have a lot of trail knives, as you can see, and been meaning to get them out and talk about them. I did the Bowie knives and I don't know, some pocket knives here and there, various things. I thought, you know what, we need to do that with the trail knives that I use regularly, as often as I use my firearms, if not more, if you can believe that. So I'm glad you're here to see this and witness this, because you're going to think I'm a mall ninja by the time I talk about all these knives I have bought and that I use. I couldn't find my throwing stars, or I'd have brought those out, or two, right? Guess we don't need many of them today. But here we are. All right. So the last trail knife. Now I'm calling these trail knives because they're we could call them lots of different things. Camp knives, hackers, tree trimmers, limb trimmers, whatever. When I say trail knife, what I do with these sorts of knives, and there's a little bit of overlap. I may carry a Bowie knife, like this one is fairly often. But as I've talked to y'all before about, maybe in a yakking video, that I almost always have some sort of blade like this with me when I'm hiking the trails and walking, even if I'm going around plinking with a firearm, because I keep the trails and have for over 30 years clear, so that for bicycling or hiking, even many of them, so that I can drive a truck or a car around the place on some of the trails without scratching the car, okay, or tractor or whatever it is. You know how if you have a trail, you got the trail cut, you've been driving whatever four-wheeler or a tractor, through there, and that takes care of that, bush hogging, of course, that sort of thing in the woods or anywhere, but it doesn't prevent the limbs from growing down into the trail. Okay, that's the thing that's always there. Little trees, bushes of various kinds growing into the trail, not at ground level. Well, they start at the ground. How's that for brilliant, right? But branches coming in. If you've ever been in the woods, you know what I'm talking about. So it's been my practice to just keep something like this, like in a sheath, of course. And I've got all the sheaths out here. I don't know that I need to show. And I keep it, in a sheath, and I'm walking. It's kind of fun. It's good exercise, And here's a branch, growing in, and every spring. Some of you who don't get out in nature much don't realize, but you may have a little tree right now. If we walk through, and there's a tree branch, a little tree there, growing beside the trail, not a problem at all. But in April and May, these branches come out that much, into the trail, and so I just whack them off as I see them. So I nip them in the bud. I keep them trimmed, generally, is what I do whenever I see one, okay? Because I like knives anyway, so I have one and just keep them trimmed. And when I say a trail knife, most of you would think, generally speaking, like this one is a pretty cool one. I picked that up at, I don't know, SHOT Show or somewhere, NRA meeting, SHOT Show, I think, at a display. And I liked it. It's nice and thick and heavy, but in some ways it's not as good as a lighter weight typical machete. There's a reason the standard machete is so popular and works so well, and you see everybody makes one. It's because they're lightweight, they're thin, and you can hack through things like that. You're not chopping trees down necessarily, okay, unless they're really small. So these actually work better. The thinner blades actually work best. Let me show you. Okay, well, this is one I like, the Gerber, kind of a standard machete. This tree right here has been getting a little troublesome. You've noticed it maybe growing out. I was going to take you into the woods and show you, but John said, well, you got some there. Need trimming. This is exactly what I use these for as they grow out into the range or the trail. So I just act like that, and take it off right there. I don't know if I can reach that one, but almost. There we go. And you can cut it off cleanly. There's some more right there. Just with a little speed. You don't end up doing much of that, having to hit it twice or three times. You see that little one there, or this really little one? See, when you've got a thin blade like this, you get enough speed with it, and it's small and thin enough, that it just cuts right through it. Whereas, and I do these others, like this is a World War II Marine knife. I think it's a medic. It was originally for medics, but they probably end up being carried by a lot of people. These are jewels, man. I love these things. But they're really more like a hatchet, and it wouldn't be my first choice for just a flimsy limb like that to, get through it. Often not quite as sharp, and then just a lot of weight. Okay, it'll do it, but it's just easier with a thin blade. All right. So, but I carry that. I do that sometimes because occasionally you got one that's a little bigger you want to take down. And I've got two of those because this is the one I use. That's the one I bought, I don't know, about 30 years ago or 40 years ago as a kind of a collector's piece. And then this one had already been sharpened. John got me this one, I think. And, I can sharpen it, whatever I want to do with it. So that's kind of the back story on all this. Sometimes I use a throwing axe. I'll take that, and cut some things. You got vines or something a little bit bigger. It's nice to have that. And I know I walk the trails a lot, so I know I'll make a mental note. I see, I think I need to take that little tree out totally or whatever. Next time I have an axe or something a little bigger, I'll take it out. And even this, a tobacco knife, works pretty well. Let me take through all of them real quick, and now let's make a choice, okay? So I carry this a lot, the Trailmaster Cold Steel. That's a nice one. It's got a thick blade, but it's pretty light. It's handy, so that's a popular trail knife for me, okay? This is Entrek. I bought that a long time ago, back in the early 90s. I remember, wow, I was teaching. I remember that was kind of expensive at the time. And I remember it being delayed. There was a flood in Missouri in that area, or it got delayed there, or that's where the builder was or something. But I like that. I've used it a lot. This is a Knives of Alaska. That's a great little camp knife or a trail knife too sometimes. I've got it pretty sharp. And just a nifty little, got that at, John was with me. He was a little guy at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Sure did. Okay, so that's a little bit thicker knife. Now this one, I'm not sure I remember where I got it. BK K-bar. Wow, well, So kind of a functional, not a bad blade, actually. Yeah. Okay, a little thicker than some of the others I like, and I talked about the marine knife there. This is a tobacco knife. I think my dad made this. We raised tobacco for 8 or 10 years when I was growing up on the farm we had, and for cutting tobacco. Believe it or not, that is actually a good trail knife for what I was talking about. In fact, let me show you. Let me find one here I needed to trim. It's got a thin blade. It'll fall down over here. And it's just really nice. You could find what needs to be cut. Oh, I can't reach any of the others. But it's like a machete. It's I think he built that with a saw blade, piece of a hand saw, and so it's thin. I've sharpened it 1,000,000 times, and that was around the house growing up forever and used. So that's a kind of a historic piece. So don't care what they look like as long as it cuts and it's got a nice handle. This I brought out because I remember carrying that occasionally, but I don't use that too much for cutting. That's a 1905 military bayonet. I don't think y'all have seen that maybe, so I thought I'd bring it out. And occasionally a throwing axe, I'll carry that, maybe throw it in the rotten trees and then also cut with it. All right. And then down here, this one I picked up one time at Gander Mountain, which no longer exists, right? Made in China. Yeah, I don't know. I found that one. I hadn't used that one in a long time. Now this one, speaking of Mall Ninja, he cocked the Mall Ninja. This one is a gun show somewhere, and I always have my eye out for a good trail trimming knife. And I picked that thing up. It's got a nice sheath, so it's protected. You're protected from it. But I mean, this thing, if I had something, I mean, it's lightweight. It's like that saw blade almost. Very thin, and it's pretty sharp. It's got a great handle, so that's actually a pretty good trail trimmer right there. Now, you might scare somebody, you pull that out on the trail. This is one Buck sent me. We talked to the owner, Buck. I forget his name. His name is Buck. He's one of the owners of the company. A couple of years, 3 or 4 years ago at SHOT Show. And he just sent us that, and that's a nice one. It actually is, not because it was free, but it is it's just a good cutter. It's not too heavy, so I have used that one. I carry that one a fair amount. This one is nice. This is some cheap thing, Camillus from Walmart. Bought that thing at Walmart not all that long ago. It's got a good handle. It now I don't necessarily need the saw blade back there. It could come in handy, but it's lightweight and very, very handy for the small stuff. That's one of my favorites. This one too, you saw I picked it up early on. I like that one a lot because it's a bayonet. It's a machete, but yet it's got a better handle. It's Gerber. It just feels better. A lot of the machetes you get at Army surplus got some old plastic handle or something. In this one too, Kershaw. That one, these two are just really nice. If they don't need the length, this one, is good. And then, like I said about this one, I really like this one. It's a little heavy for the kind of twigs and things I'm cutting most of the time. So, let me eliminate some of these right away. If I just had to have a one, let me limit it to about 2 or 3. Now, some of these knives I like, I'd never let go. I don't want to let go. I just love those. And of course, I like the Entrek and my Trailmaster. There's just a lot of special knives here. But as far as just practicality, if I had one of these that's what I'm trying to get to walk the trails with for the next 10 years, I'm going to try to pick one of them. Okay, this one's a little long. I'm going to eliminate it. This is the Chinese made one. I'm going to eliminate. All these wouldn't be my first choice. I like that tobacco knife a lot. Of course, those are kind of heavy for what I do most of the time. So is that one. So is that one. A little heavy for what I do most of the time. This one is pretty cool. I didn't have trouble with slipping out of my hands. I just want to put this loop on it. And it's nice, just a little thick for what I like to use one for. This one I'm going to have to put in the finals over here. Okay, you made the finals, buddy. That Trailmaster is great. This one, like I said, is a little thick. That gets me down to 5 of my favorites right there for actually trimming. Not value, nothing to do with value, sentiment, or anything. Just as far as if I had to pick one of those up and use it a lot, for the kinds of things I'm talking about. Now, I'm not talking about cutting down a tree that's 12 inches in diameter at all, or I might want one of those others, right? Talking about these twigs, for the most part, up to, I don't know, a ½ inch or an inch, and, cut a vine occasionally, whatever. And sometimes you use something maybe that big around that you do want to hack down, and you can do it with most of these. You just have to chop on a little bit. So, who can we eliminate? As far as practicality for the only one, I'll eliminate the Trailmaster, although it's great. This one I like, but the handle's not quite as ergonomic. Okay, so 3 of my favorite machetes is kind of what it comes down to, are these 3. And these are the 3 I've been using over the last year the most. This one I've not had long, but I've been carrying it almost exclusively lately. Okay, I did notice occasionally I'm cutting something and it is almost, if it's got any size to it, I've really got to hack more than I would with either of these 2. But I really like that one for lightweight stuff. But if I got to limit it to 1, I'm going to eliminate that one. And I think it's between these 2 that I've used most often. And this one's nice. It's got a little more reach, but it's a little more like a long barrel on a firearm. I could usually do without the extra length on it. And I'm going to go to this one. It has nothing to do with the name. I couldn't even tell you. It's a Kershaw. Makes no difference. Unless it was some name, then everybody knows the blades break right away, and I don't think that's the case with Kershaw. But it's got a rubberized kind of handle. It feels good. It's not too awfully long, and it's lightweight. It's got a little bit of heft to it, but it feels light, and you can get the speed to whack off like I say, something really small, and or something that's got a little size to it if you need it. And I think since I've chosen that, I should probably hack something just to prove it works. Like, wow, now I can't reach anything. Let's get this one before it gets to be a problem. See, takes it right off. Anybody else up there need to be hacked? How about right here? See, large or small, it works really well. And let me find the sheath over here since it's the winter. Which one did it go in? I think that one right there, yeah, Kershaw. You know, so it, so I put that on my belt, you know, and either side, and just it's not a problem to carry or have on. And I see something that needs to be trimmed, pull it out and whack it off. So nothing all that extra cool about at least some of these knives, the finalists, of course. Just really, really practical. You know, like maybe your favorite carry gun that's ugly and polymer or whatever it is. It just works. You know, it's got a rubber handle, no cool wood with brass rivets or anything like that. Just something that works. And it's worked for me for a good while. So I'm calling them a trail knife because it's trimming the trails, not something necessarily you're going to take on your trek out west, you know, on your trail that Lewis and Clark would have taken, you know, on the trail they were making or whatever. But just to keep the trails trimmed, that's what it's about. So I'm glad you came along because I know you were just desperate to know which of my machetes was my favorite. Life is good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it, for all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com. And also, while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.